Anyone who is somewhat into sci-fi movies has watched Dune, the cinematic adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel published back in 1965. The movie was quite well received. The sequel to the movie wasn't planned, but because of the worldwide recognition, Dune Part 2 is going to come up on our big screen soon. Recently, it was reported that the release date for Dune 2 moved away from the Hunger Games prequel. When is the movie getting released then? Not only that, but the interconnected series Dune Sisterhood is also getting a lot of praise because of its major twists and turns in the plot. Although fans are still talking about it, as it can still use a major Jessica twist, can it? All these questions are going to be answered in this video, so tune in till the end. When is Dune Part 2 getting released now? A lot of people from the Dune 2 studios, as well as the production, gave some explanations, and many fans were puzzled by this news. It was revealed by Warner Brothers that Dune Part 2 will be released on the old date of Marvel's Blade, which is November 3rd, 2023, instead of November 17th, 2023. This sequel is very much anticipated by fans because it tackles the second half of Frank Herbert's seminal 1965 novel. The production figured out that they had to make a part 2 of the movie, and they should have released both parts back to back by shooting them at the same time, so that there was less waiting time for the fans, and they shouldn't have been looking at a 2023 release date for Dune 2. Instead, they should have been talking about Dune 2 coming out this Christmas. That being said, the production has moved the release date, but let's not get too excited about it getting released earlier, because it's just a couple of weeks early. Now, the interesting thing about Dune is that it was always set up to be a multi-part film, but there were concerns that a high-concept, ambitious science fiction movie like Dune might not hit right with audiences to justify continuing with sequels. Well, fortunately, fans came out, and it appears this sandworm has dug itself deep into the minds of viewers, with a global box office debut take of $229.7 million. And there's no surprise, the sequel got the green light. What do fans think about the newly announced date? Fans have gotten really excited about the production moving up the release date of Dune 2 because the first part was truly loved by everyone. It also won 6 Oscars at the Academy Awards, and the mass reaction of fans is that they are generally happy that it is getting released earlier than before. However, it's just 2 weeks, and that too because of logistical reasons. Fans said that Disney is going to be shuffling their lineup to try to see what they can put in around that time to make up for their loss. This in itself is a brilliant idea because if we look at the calendar, the 17th date marks the Friday before Thanksgiving, and the US is a huge market for films, and especially if there's a movie that comes out on November 3rd. Moving it 2 weeks earlier is going to get that word of mouth spread. It's going to get the buzz before rolling into the holidays. Although, what is going to happen with the characters in the new part? Well, Dune Part 2 will likely see Zendaya's character take over as the leading protagonist. The two main characters, played by Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, are really explosive, and getting them back together would be a great addition to the sequel. How was the previously released series perceived by the audience? The adaptation of Frank Herbert's much-loved sci-fi novel has approached, but not just on the big screen though. The Dune television series is also in the works, and the decision seems kinda risky, to be honest. The movie isn't out yet, and the producers are out there planning a spin-off. Fans are a little skeptical about this show because, well, it's a new thing for the viewers to the least. However, Dune has been adapted as a series before this, and a great measure of success back in the year 2000 that ended up being well received by critics. It also won a couple of Emmys, one for Best Cinematography and one for Outstanding Visual Effects. It's hard to believe for some fans though, because watching it 2 decades later had some serious effects on the special effects department. Some of these effects have not aged well. Honestly, the only scenes that really look bad are the desert landscape shots. It looks like they just used green screens for those. But on the other hand, it did look like they went ahead and spent that money saved from the desert landscape scenes into creating the giant sandworms. They actually look pretty damn impressive, even if measured by today's standards. But again, the sweeping landscape of Arrakis just doesn't have the epicness it should have. That's the whole critique that fans came up with, but that's fine, given the series had to offer so much more. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to find out everything about the Sisterhood series of Dune, including the famous spin-off in the plot. Some say that it might or might not happen. Well, guess that. We'll have to find out together, so keep watching out for it. What does the plot of Dune, Sisterhood, look like? Let's talk about what the upcoming Sisterhood series is about. The premise for the show is out there, and it appears awesome. According to the report, the series will revolve around Bene Gesserit, who is a social, religious, and political force filled with mystery. She trained Paul Atreides' mother Jessica, and we sadly only got a glimpse of them in the movie. Every sister in the group has access to supernatural powers, and they actually have some of the strongest political forces in the Dune universe. The show about their order would be pretty pleasing, as it would also answer a ton of questions that the previously released film left us with. The sisterhood will probably be set in the years leading up to the rise of Paul Atreides, and that opens up a bunch of possibilities for the story. The show could be about the origins of Bene Gesserit, or it might be the story of the Reverend Mother Mohiam, who's the creepy lady played by Charlotte Sampling. It is quite evident that she has got a story to share, of course. What do we know about the sisterhood so far? While the upcoming miniseries definitely has its strong points, the issue posed is that there are a lot of changes made to the story. There are little tweaks here and there throughout the drama regarding some characters' actions, which are somewhat different from the book. They also took a lot of liberties with the story itself, creating an entire subplot that involved the daughter of the Emperor Princess, Irulan of the House of Carino, which wasn't in the book. The character was featured only a couple of times throughout the entire story of Dune. The use of artistic license can be understood to an extent to help the audience gain further insight into the characters and their motivations. There is definitely a lot of internal dialogue from the book that is tricky to convey on screen. However, fans think they went a little too far at times upon observing closely. Has Jessica's Harkonnen twist cut out from the series? Jessica as a Harkonnen had a great sequence in the novel, and the story would get going a lot nicer in the Sisterhood of Dune. Why? Well, because Dune was cut down to only 2 hours and 30 minutes in the movie. This time frame could not put all the little intricacies and details which were present in the first half of the novel. This also included Jessica's Harkonnen heritage twist, which was an extremely interesting part. The first part of Dune set a good foundation for the stories yet to be delivered and unfolded through the upcoming parts. This just means that the plot twists will have more time to get integrated with the story, and fans are going to be enthralled with the look of it. The production has tried to intimate the reference material from the novel as best as it could, without getting into the nitty-gritty or excessive details. This doesn't mean that elaborations in the novel are unnecessary. It just means that if the first movie was as elaborate as the book itself, it would have passed about 12 hours of time frame. This is the reason why Denis Villeneuve aims to make a Dune reboot into a full film trilogy, which permits the novel's most vital plot significance to be better spaced apart across the reboot's entire portrayal. Like every director before him, Villeneuve had to alter many roles in the book to make a great movie adaptation. What are you more excited about? Is it the upcoming movie or the series? Let us know in the comments which you prefer to watch.